Lebanon in ruins. How the conflict escalated and what it means for the Middle East. Lebanon is under fire, and the human cost is rising by the hour. What began as a dangerous regional standoff has now turned into one of the deadliest chapters Lebanon has seen in recent history, with airstrikes hitting multiple areas and civilians paying the highest price. This is not just another headline from the Middle East. This is a crisis that is reshaping the security landscape of the region, testing international diplomacy, and pushing an already fragile country even closer to disaster. So what exactly is happening in Lebanon right now? Why is the violence intensifying? And what could come next? Let's break it down. Intro. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at the escalating conflict in Lebanon, where Israeli strikes have reportedly hit areas including Sidon and Nabatee, leaving death, destruction, and fear behind. According to the article, Lebanon's health ministry says the death toll has now passed 2,000, and recent strikes have killed civilians as well as emergency responders who were on duty during the attacks. That detail matters, because it shows just how broad and indiscriminate the impact of this conflict has become. Before we get into the bigger geopolitical picture, let's understand the immediate reality on the ground. What happened? The article describes a series of Israeli airstrikes across southern Lebanon, including a deadly strike near Sidon that killed at least 8 people and injured several others. Another wave of attacks in the Nabatee district reportedly killed 10 people, including emergency responders. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a wider pattern of intensifying military activity that has turned southern Lebanon into a high-risk conflict zone. For civilians, this means an everyday life dominated by fear. Homes can be destroyed in seconds, roads become dangerous, hospitals are overloaded, and families are forced to make impossible decisions about whether to stay or flee. And when emergency workers themselves are being killed, it becomes even harder to respond to the crisis. That is one of the clearest signs that the conflict is no longer contained to military targets alone. Why it matters? This conflict matters far beyond Lebanon's borders. The Israel-Hezbollah confrontation has long been one of the most dangerous flashpoints in the Middle East, because any serious escalation risks pulling in other regional actors and widening into a much bigger conflict. Lebanon is already a country under severe pressure. Its economy has been broken for years, its political system is deeply divided, and its institutions are struggling to keep up with the needs of the population. A warlike environment only makes those problems worse. When strikes intensify, the effect is not just military. It affects food supply chains, transportation, hospitals, communication networks, and the ability of ordinary people to live normal lives. That is why this story is not only about bombs and borders. It is about the collapse of stability in a country that can barely afford another national shock. The regional angle. To understand this moment, you have to look at the broader Middle East. Lebanon sits at the center of a region where conflicts often overlap, where alliances are fluid, and where one escalation can quickly trigger another. The article's framing suggests a sharp rise in Israeli strikes in response to the confrontation with Hezbollah, a group that has deep military and political influence in Lebanon. That makes this more than a local crisis. It is part of a wider strategic confrontation with implications for Israel's northern border, Lebanon's sovereignty, and regional deterrence. And in geopolitics, timing matters.